At 32, I had my first heart attack. It was fortunately a mild one. It didn't kill me. At 35, I had my first bypass surgery. That surgery lasted 9 years, and then the arteries occluded. In other words, they failed. So then I had to have the surgery a second time. Well, that lasted another 9 years, and then we had a problem again. So then I went back for the third bypass surgery 5 years later in Milwaukee at St. Mary's Hospital. And they used the second memory artery, and they never finished the job because I had a massive heart attack during the procedure. And it was very touch and go from that point. And by 1990, it was determined that if I was to have any quality of life at all, that I should see if I was a candidate for heart transplants. But year after year, I got more ill, and no organs on the horizon. So I pretty much given up on getting a heart transplant. I'm the father of Patty Szuber. Patty was on a short vacation in the Smoky Mountains prior to going back to college. And my last words to Patty are probably the same that I've uttered 1,000 times before to her older brothers and sisters. And that is, have a good time, but be careful. Later that evening, the wee hours of the morning, the phone rang. As I came towards her, she handed me the phone saying Patty had been in a very serious car accident. After concluding my conversation with the doctor, I remember sitting at the kitchen table. Patty's mother was sitting in the living room on the sofa, and we were speechless. We were totally devastated. Here we're helpless. We have a child dying some 700 miles away. The doctor says, don't bother coming down as death appears to be moments away. So it was a very somber, silent period that we went through. I wanted to fly to Knoxville to be with Patty. There was an organ donor coordinator, and she took us back to the Special Services Lounge. A neurologist came into the room, and he says, I pronounced death at 11:35 a.m. this morning. So it was over. The doctor says you can go back and see Patty for one more last time if you want. And the organ donor coordinator says, you know, there's some questions I've got to ask you, and a consent form has to be signed before organ donation can go on. And I found out that I could not allow the transplant to go forward if I didn't want to. I didn't need any specific reason. And if I would sign no consent, there'd be no organ donation. Or if I agreed, or the family agreed, my wife and I agreed to transplant, we could even limit the number of organs and tissues gathered. So we agreed that Patty was sort of a Dudley Do-Right, that she'd probably want to help as many people as she possibly could. Now, then I had to sign that consent form. And I'll tell you now, that's the hardest signature I had ever given in my life. We just got to the exit door of the Special Services Lounge when Susie, the organ donor coordinator, come running up to me, and she says, Mr. Szuber, I know that you're on a list for heart transplant. And under something called the Directed Anatomical Gift Act, you can have Patty's heart. Well, I was never more stunned in my life. And a million things went through my mind. Is this right? Is this ethical? Is this a selfish move? What will other people think? Could I stand the thought of every heartbeat reminding me of Patty? And I turned it down. But while I was waiting for the elevator, I don't want to sound corny at this point, but I swear, Patty was pleading with me to accept her gift. Finally, I had come to the conclusion that if the whole family was in agreement that this is what we should do, that this is what we would do. and they all come in and says, Dad, I think we ought to do it. And so then I had to call Susie, our organ donor coordinator, to say that we've changed our mind, that we want to accept Patty's gift. My daughter was involved in an automobile accident, and because of that accident, her subsequent death, I'm the only man in the world to date with a child's heart.